Let's get some insight now from Rajiv Biswas. He's the Executive Director and Asia Pacific Chief Economist at IHS Markit. Rajiv, thanks for joining us. It seems that every time there's some promising sign of recovery, we just get slapped back by another wave of this virus. So at each of these junctures, when confidence is lost, does it just make it that much harder for confidence to be regained? Or are investors so desperate for any sign of recovery now that they're too quick to jump back in?
I think when we look at what happened in 2021, the world economy did show quite a recovery despite the new Delta waves that hit. The world economy grew at about 5.6% last year. And this year, although we are now seeing these Omicron waves hitting many of the world's largest economies, including the US, the EU, and in the Asia region, Japan and India have also been hit. Nevertheless, they're much more highly vaccinated in the industrial world, in the OECD countries and Asia Pacific countries now than a year ago. So I think that makes countries a bit more resilient. Having said that, I do think that the first quarter of this year is going to be tremendous disruptions due to these huge surges in the Omicron waves that are hitting many of these countries. We're going to see labor shortages because people have to self-isolate if they're tested positive. And also there's going to be government responses like lockdowns. We're seeing that in China, where despite small outbreaks, the government's pursuing a zero COVID policy. So it's locking down cities where there are outbreaks. So all of these things mean there will be disruption in the first quarter of this year to economic growth. We're already seeing that happening in Europe. And I think that will be more evident also in the US and Asia in the coming weeks ahead. But I think when we look over the course of 2022, we will see progressive improvement in the world economy, partly because of vaccine rollout and also the rollout of booster shots, which improve resilience against Omicron, but also because these new tablets that have been starting to ramp up production are also going to help to bring the pandemic under control. So for this year, for 2022, world growth is expected to be about 4.3% for the year as a whole, although we'll still see this kind of stop-start situation in the early part of this year in any case. I think when we turn towards the Northern Hemisphere spring and summer, the situation should improve because these Omicron waves it seems like they're very severe, but are also very quickly diminishing. At least that's what was evident in South Africa, where it originated. So there is some hope that these waves may ease.
Are there ways that this collective experience of a pandemic will permanently change the global economy or in markets within it?
There have been huge impacts on many sectors of the economy, particularly sectors like tourism, aviation, which have suffered 2 years of depressionary conditions and are now facing challenges this year as well. Many companies have been heavily disrupted and have accumulated a lot of debt or have failed. Many small to medium enterprises around the world have failed. So there will be legacy issues to deal with even when the pandemic comes under control. And we should also remember that about 100 million people, particularly informal low-paid workers, have fallen into extreme poverty during the pandemic up to now. So those hundreds million people have to rebuild their lives, and that's going to take some years for them to lift themselves back out of poverty.
Yeah, it's really exposed how few buffers there are. What we've come to, so little padding for people to get through something like this. All right, Rajiv Biswas, great to have your expertise on our show.